How many people have gone through ammonia awareness training before? Oh, most of you have, so okay, that's a good thing. As Nick said, 27th year. I was here when NEP was built. All right, we had the first edition was what? Ammonia. So here to talk about awareness and make sure that we operate a safe facility. All right, nobody gets hurt. All right. Ammonia, right? Anhydrous ammonia. Anhydrous means without water. Okay. Ammonia looks for water and heat all the time. It's the best refrigerant out there. Okay. There's no global warming, ozone depletion. You know, I talk about environmentally hazardous. It's not a freon. We use ammonia. Most efficient. All right. And that's why, again, our energy bills are all dependent upon what? Our ammonia system. All right. So every year we gear up for what? Harvest. Right. This year, 38 million pounds going into the warehouse. And we're used to it. They come in nice and wet, right? And we have a lot of moisture there. But ammonia is our best refrigerant. And that's what we're pumping from where? From our engine room on the side of the building, all the way upstairs to those penthouse units. So basically our big evaporators that absorb all that heat are way up top in what we call penthouse units. So that when people are loading with forklifts, who's forklift drivers? Okay? You can't hit the evaporators. Okay, they're out of reach, which is a good thing because that's the leading cause that I get accidents in warehouses is when forklift drivers strike the big evaporators with the fans in the warehouse. And they chase them all over the place. So we want to keep what? We want to keep the ammonia in the pipes. So again, before harvest season starts, we have a contractor named DeVault who does all our what? Our safeties and interlocks. Make sure our ammonia detectors work. Make sure our safety cutouts work. Make sure Nick just has proof that we push the emergency stop button on the outside and it shuts the whole system down, but that works. So we're very dependent upon what? Safeties and interlocks built into the system that would automatically occur even if we got a small leak. Okay? So again, we minimize what? Risk in the design of this system. You know where the engine room is by the sound. When you walk by the side of NEP, you hear it. You hear that of the compressors. If you ever not hear that, that's also what? An issue because what? The system is down. So today, we're in the harvest season and you're bringing in these nice what? Warm cranberries from the field and they're wet. So it's our worst nightmare. So our system has to work what? The hardest. And we're going to be pulling those down to what? About -5, right? -5? Right. About -5. So we're taking them from about 70 something degrees. We've got to take all that heat out and reject it to the atmosphere. And that's what our job is. So really what we are is a big blast freezer. And then once we get that whole core or all those totes to -5, it's not a big job what? Holding that temperature throughout the rest of the year. You see? So right now it's the biggest what? Energy crunch is for us to what? Pull all that heat out of those cranberries and make it frozen. That's what our job is. Now, ammonia, it's toxic. It could kill you at high levels. We have very low parts per million. What I mean by that is the concentration. Okay, you will smell it at about 5 parts per million, which is very, very low. OSHA says I can breathe up to 50 parts per million every day. Our goal here, and it's always been at Quaker Valley, is what? 0. We're always 0. If you think you smell something in the box, say something. Okay, it's that simple. Where we would have DeVault come out and check it out. Again, if it is a major leak, we've got everything coordinated through Philadelphia Fire Department and DeVault and myself that would be able to respond to them. Okay? So, a lot of automatic things. We can also dial in remotely, which is pretty nice too. One thing I don't want you to do is if you smell ammonia, you're to what? Leave that area. You don't stay. And honestly, your brain's going to tell you, your nose sends the signal to the brain to say what? I'm out of here. Right? It's got that self-alarming type thing. All right? A couple things I want you to think about with first aid. Ammonia loves water, loves heat. Okay? It'll take the moisture out of your body. In other words, you're not going to be in the engine room, but that's where the highest risk is. So say a contractor comes staggering out of the engine room on the side of the building, and he's got some burns on him. And it's going to look just like frostbite. We want to get water on that person as fast as humanly possible. To what? Minimize any burns. If they come out and they smell it, get them out to good fresh what? Philadelphia air, right? That's what we want to get them outside to, honestly. We want them to breathe. But it's almost like, everybody ever smell ammonia? Everybody? It smells like horseradish. You ever get horseradish and you get a good kind of snootful and it goes up your nose, makes your eyes tear and your nose run? That's kind of the thing. And again, it's such low levels. 5,000 parts per million is fatal. But again, anything that is a leak above 50 parts per million, the fire department and the vault will respond in, and they can help take care of, mitigate this leak. And again, we can also remotely access the system to shut units off or physically shut the whole system off without even being there. That's a good thing. So again, the system was built in 2000. You know, it's 25 years old. We do mechanical integrity on it all the time. We test our ammonia detectors. We test our e-stops. We want to make sure that what? Everything is good. You know, right now, what we're doing, and I need your help, is to help prevent moisture from getting into the building. Okay? The dock doors down there. You know, we've got some containerized loads that come in too. Anytime like right now, until we get to the fall where what? Humidity is lower. Humidity is our worst nightmare because what? The cloud goes through, the fog comes through, gets attached to those coils and acts as an insulator. Like a buildup of ice on the coils, and I can't what? Absorb heat from the cranberries as fast. So we have to do what we call a thawing out or a defrost cycle, more than we normally do. So I need your help to do what? Make sure curtains are down. Make sure doors are closed. Make sure if you see any infiltration, you get to maintenance and say, hey, that door is broken or it doesn't close all the way. I'm getting some what? I'm getting some fog back into the building. That goes right to the coils. And I'm 45 years in ammonia refrigeration, and I got to tell you, keeping doors closed is the biggest challenge in the plant. You know, so that impacts what? Our efficiency. We've got it down to a science now that we only run certain compressors during certain times of the year. And we try to what? Minimize our costs on energy. So we've got that dialed in really good. Nick, and between Nick DeVault, myself, and even go back to Rick Goldberg days, who was the original owner of NDP, we've tweaked this system on automatic controls to make sure we minimize cost, but also make sure what product is what? At the standards that we want. Okay? Don't ever run towards a leak. Always, again, if you smell something, say something. But don't run into, like the NDP side. If there is what? If there is an ammonia alarm going off, the strobes or horns are going off, you are to what? You are to evacuate. They've got an evacuation point right out here, out front. We've got one on the side parking lot if needed to. And if the wind is still blowing the direction, you know, towards the technical school, we just keep going up the road. But here's the important part. I want you to be accounted for when we do an evacuation. Don't get in your car and drive out the gate. Because the first thing Philly Fire Department's going to want to know is what? Is everybody accounted for? Right? Otherwise, they're going to put people at risk doing what? Going back in the building and saying, hey, where is everybody? And somebody walks out with their sandwich and goes, oh yeah, I didn't want to leave my sub. I spent $5 on that. I need it. I don't know if I'm coming back today. But that accountability is so important. And you know pretty much where everybody is during the day. Whether in the office, whether in what? You know, in the Quaker Valley side, in the NDP side. You know people's schedules. So that helps you size up things too. But when the police department and fire department show up, they're going to want to know, is everybody out? You know, I just got 42 years in the fire department in New Jersey, and that is the biggest thing with warehouses. I pull up and I see cars passing my fire trucks. Because they know what? If they've got a leak or something's going on, they're like, well, we're free for the day, see ya. And that accountability goes out the window. So I need your help, and it's like herding cats sometimes, okay? You gotta, you know, wrap your arms around everybody. You've got flagpoles out there, there's indicators. You look at a day like today, it's pretty still. Ammonia is lighter than air. It will go up on the roof, outside or in the engine room. In the freezer, the ammonia will stay low, stay very low. You may not smell it here, but you may feel it tingling on your hands. Remember, it loves water. So where do you sweat? Two places, here and the groin. And if there is ammonia, that's the water it'll go to. Got it? So again, awareness. I don't expect you to go in the engine room. I expect, you know, we do awareness every year just to make sure you know that what? It's here, it's on site. And we want everybody to be safe. That's the biggest thing, okay? And again, we've minimized risk for you to impact our system by what? Evaporators up on that roof. You know, we've done a lot of good things. And every year we get that PM. We have a very prescriptive preventive maintenance program to make sure we do get those alarms. Whether it's a high pressure condition, it's an ammonia leak. And knock wood, we've been really good in 27 years. We really have. In the beginning, we had a hiccup right early on, and we lost ammonia. And that was a defective evaporator. And basically the weld failed and caused a leak. And that was our initial. It wasn't 2 weeks old that one evaporator failed. And then we found out that there were 40 others in the country that were built on that same time. Then they actually had bad welds as well. So again, we take care of the system, we clean the coils, we make sure it's good. Cranberries are messy. We know it. The floors are going to get messy. Okay? It's like riding through a cobblestone road, you know, like a rough road in there. But there's so much moisture. Please help try to minimize that so that the efficiency of the refrigeration system is maximized. All right?
Larry, can I just mention something?
Go ahead.
If you notice, with the blue light outside the engine room, there's strobes.
Yeah.
Blue light with a strobe is ammonia.
Right.
So if you see a blue light and a strobe, that's ammonia leak. Inside the building, like Larry was mentioning, the only place we have inside the building are the penthouses up top. You guys see it where the air units are blowing on the roof?
Ductwork comes.
That's where you have your ammonia. We have sensors inside of the penthouses, 2 sensors per. We test them twice a year now, per what Larry wanted us done. They're set, Wayne and Pat had to set them years ago to the lowest extreme, 5 and 10 ppm. Remember he said, I've smelled 25 ppm? I ran away from that one. But instead of 5 and 10, the unit shuts right down and ammonia stops.
We pump out those coils.
We pump out that thing, so there's very rare chance it's going to get inside the building.
Right.
Because that's the only place it's going to get in. Everything's outside the building, all the piping. So when it gets in there, it detects ammonia, 10 to 12 ppm, it shuts right down.
More Powers is the vault, so he has his laptop all the time with him. And again, we depend on safeties and interlocks that are checked, but we also have it where we can interface with the system and shut it down remotely. So in other words, it's not like going to wait 2 hours for a service guy to get here. If he dials in, he can already see where the leak is and what's occurring. And again, what Pat did was we set it at 12 parts per million. EPA wants 25. We set it for half of what that is. So you may pick up a little whiff before that strobe and horn's going to go off, but it's pretty low. It's going to tell you. All right? So we're very conservative. We want that. And this was one of the first facilities that actually shut down the units automatically and pump them out. Okay? So again, we don't have to wait for what? Somebody to climb to the roof, close a valve, you know, and then it stops leaking. No, we're already doing it automatically before anybody even gets here. All right? And again, the system's been very tight. We haven't added ammonia in a long time. Sometimes, like even in a Freon system like your home HVAC, the mechanic will come and add a little bit of Freon to the system. This system has all welded joints. It was one of the state-of-the-art plants back in 2000. It still holds up very well today. Okay? And that's what we do. We service our compressors. Again, proper protocol. Make sure that it gets to NIC. Okay? And the auto dialers go out. Make sure it gets to NIC and nobody goes towards that area. Let's investigate that first. All right? And we can see the detector readouts even on the software as well. Okay? See something, smell something, say something. Real simple. Okay? Questions?
Just curious, when you say you pump out the ammonia, where is it? You just release it into the atmosphere?
No. It actually comes back to the heart. So think about the ammonia system being your human body. Our evaporators are really what? Fingers and toes. So my heart pumps out the ammonia from the engine room, sends liquid out. I absorb the heat and it turns it to vapor and brings the what? The vapor back to the engine room. So what we do is bring it back to the vessels in the engine room and start to fill those up. So in other words, we don't, anything more than 100 pounds, we have to report to the National Response Center and EPA. We don't want those. But what we do is, it's still in the system, we just bring it back to what? The main heart, the main chamber in the heart. Okay? The E-stop is like if we stop the heart, we just stop the whole system. So if you really think about it, we're just absorbing heat through fingers and toes, bringing it back, and then what we do is get rid of the heat on the condensers that are on that roof out there, those big units with fans. That's where all the heat goes after we absorb it from where? From the cranberries. It's kind of unique because you think about your own refrigerator. You take beer, right? You bring beer home, it's warm, and you put it in the refrigerator. It's not the cold air that blows on it. It's actually us what? Absorbing the heat out of it. That's really what we do to make things cold. And again, when does it work the hardest? In the summer when it's high humidity and high heat. That's why it's always nice in harvest season, we're hoping to get what? Lower humidity and temperatures where? In the 70s. Our system works the hardest, 100 degrees, 100% humidity. Because the atmosphere says what? I really don't want your heat. And now my blood pressure is up. And now my compressors work what? Harder. So as the temperature goes down, the compressors that we've got running don't run as hard. And then come winter time, guess what? The atmosphere says, give me all the heat you want. I'll take it all. You see? And in our systems, we really run a very small machine to maintain our -5 because it's like a giant iceberg in there. You know? But right now is the most challenging, and that's why we limit them to like 25 trucks a day. Because we don't want to get what? Overwhelmed. And we can only take out so many BTUs per hour. See? But this is the biggest blast freezer around. This was built just for what? Cranberries. Other stuff will come in, like say if you get McDonald's, like frozen meat, things like that. That's already coming in at temperature. You see what I'm saying? So all we're doing is what? Maintaining that. Real simple. Cranberries are challenged. A lot of people don't like to handle those. You guys have handled them well for a lot of years. They're messy too, right? You know, sometimes they're messy and slippery. So be careful. Okay? Good? Any other questions? Gonna make it easy on me today? Come on. All right. Everybody sign in. This is important. It's not because OSHA wants HAZCOM every year. It's because we just want to make you aware and any new people make it aware. You know, we want to keep it safe. It's always been a big commitment of Quaker Valley and NEP to make sure you're safe. You know, anybody here when Rick Goldberg used to be here? Rick was original, right? He was unique too. Good guy. Go ahead.
They don't have a lot, but like say I'm in there for a long time, doing a lot of work. Now when I get that pins and needles in my fingers, like there's something to like kind of get that going down faster. So I go back.
Honestly, that's wearing what? Proper PPE. That's wearing good gloves. A lot of times people sweat inside those gloves. You know what I mean? And then they put them outside, and when you go back inside, that sweat kind of freezes again. Gets a little wet inside there. So try to dry out your gloves the best you can, even if you turn them inside out. But that's always a big thing in freezers. I have some plants that are -25 in the freezer. Ice cream. And they complain about that a lot. We had to find some like moisture absorbing type gloves where the inner liner comes out and you put a new liner in that's dry. Because guess what? You're going to sweat. You know? So the cold will grab you. Just please wear your PPE in there. Okay? All right. We're good.